Okay. Welcome everyone to Moncef Afkar's show, Your Divine Uniqueness. I'm stealing the show today by being the host. I'm Erica VanEaton. I'm really excited about the topic today. Moncef does such a brilliant job of holding space when he's speaking, when he's holding large group sessions, when he's hosting a show for guest speakers like me to come on and share our gifts with your platform. But what I think what often goes unseen with Moncef is that he holds such a strong foundational frequency of peace that when we come to step on to this platform with him, with any platform that he's on, that it's this instant nurturing feeling, which puts us in a relaxation state for us to receive. So today we're going to be talking about choosing yourself and your path and what that means and feels like energetically. So thank you, Moncef, for allowing me to interview you today, and I'm excited about today's topic.
Yeah, thank you so much, Erica. Also, thank you for willing to interview me today. So very happy for that. And yeah, also just want to share a brief introduction about Erica. She joined us several times in the show before, and I mean, I was taking her support and advice throughout the years, and I think it's been a year and a half. That's when we first started discussing about offering my own services, and really just want to say that the guidance was really helpful, and the support and encouragement. So it was a big support for me as I'm stepping into my own service. So thank you for that.
You're so welcome. You were beyond ready and you hold so much space already. That's not something that everyone knows how to do, how to hold space for large groups of people, because you have to have the ability to hold a large energetic matrix. And you had been practicing that already by having other speakers come on. So it was just a natural progression, and I'm excited to see where it all goes. So yay.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Right. So your topic today, choosing yourself and choosing your path, and us remembering that we do have a choice in this, and that everything is a choice. Where would you like to begin with that, with explaining that?
Yeah, maybe I would like to share a little bit about maybe different stages that we go through when we choose for ourselves or choose ourselves. First is, and this depends on where we are in our path and in our evolution, because many times we may notice that it's more of a stage of being rebellious, maybe toward others or ourselves or the situation that we are in. We may feel that we don't deserve what is happening, or we may refuse how others treat us, or maybe want to change how things are unfolded to us, the experiences that are happening to us. And also sometimes we may feel maybe angry at ourselves because we are giving away our power, whether to others or the maybe situation or the collective. And then this maybe rebellious energy, it triggers a change. Like we want change, but at some point it can't build a new path. It doesn't really help, because it's more about, how to say, the energy is very fluctuating, and at some point it can be confusing and also tiring if we stay in that energy for a long time. And also another stage is like feeling guilty when we choose ourselves first. Maybe we feel guilty that we are maybe giving up on others. And this can happen especially when we feel like saviors to others. We believe that if we are not there for them, like if we don't intervene or we don't support them, that they will stay alone, that there is no support for them. And we forget that as we are supported, the others too, they are receiving supports constantly. And also sometimes we have this doubt about maybe the decisions we make, like if it's the right decision or not. Sometimes we may look back and maybe we how to say, we have this narrative in our mind. Maybe if if I took the other path, it can be better. Especially if when we choose a path and which, how to say, brings to the surface things that's we were not aware of, like traumas and issues that's we were not aware of before, and it can be challenging in the beginning, and then we can start questioning things. And another stage is more about freedom, and here we are not seeking to change the situation or change others. We feel that it's an energy, it's a frequency that is existing, and we don't need to remove it. It's one of many frequencies existing at once. And then we have more, how to say, the power of choice and the power of choosing where we put our focus. And this happens when, how to say, when we become more free and less triggered by what is happening, and also honoring others' path and others' experiences. We allow them to have their own experience, to make their own choice without intervening. If they ask for help and we can, then we give the support, but it's not about being the savior again. And also, it doesn't mean like if we don't need to create boundaries. Sometimes we need to speak up or maybe move ourselves out of the situation. So yeah, I just wanted to start by this and what we may experience as we are when we start choosing for ourselves first.
There's so many points to touch on there. I think the most important one, and we're going to go back, like, I think we need to go into where we get stuck a lot we think that there's just one right choice. I think when a lot of people come to healers, at least I know that I get this question a lot, is what's the right choice? And there is no one right choice. And when we let go of that understanding and recognize that we have so many life choices before us, and it's just an experience. So where do you find, like, along those steps that you just listed, that people most often get stuck and they start digressing with their thoughts and with their emotions instead of just allowing themselves to experience whatever choice they did choose and moving through it so then they can move on to something different?
It's mainly in the first two stages, like maybe being rebellious or feeling guilty about our choice. And I like that you mentioned that sometimes we believe that there is only one right choice. And also this can relate to, how to say, maybe to our traumas, and also the fact that many times we try to protect ourselves from a bad experience. If we don't take the right choice, then we will have a difficult experience, or we will be missing out. And then when, how to say, when we do this, then we feel like stuck in taking decisions. It becomes very difficult. And here, because the emotions are really intense at that point, it becomes also difficult to discern what is right for us, what resonates for us or not. Because we can have many choices, but there are some choices or frequencies that resonates more for us and for the path that we want to create. And yeah, and sometimes, like for me, because sometimes I find myself in that stage, but at that point, for me, what I do, it's more about not choosing and more about trying to maybe coming back to my center, to my heart. And then, like, maybe even more choices start to show up for me. And that's, I was not aware of when I was like in the middle of this confusion. So yeah, so mainly those two first stages.
Okay. I love that, like, coming back home to yourself, because everyone's choice is such a personal vibrational match to them. Everyone has their own frequencies. So seeking assistance outside of yourself or looking for external validation on, was this choice? Well, no one can know that except for you. And when we come back to that recognition of, like, okay, this is my experience here, and it has to be a selfish one because no one else in the world carries the frequencies of light that I do. That does help release a little bit of that guilt so that we can move through whatever decision that we made. So I like that back home to self and feeling our way through it. What's a vibrational match to me?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And also another point when we are in that stage of indecisiveness is many times we find ourselves running toward others to make the decision for us. And just because it becomes difficult to be with those emotions, so the situations. So we want like the answer or the solution right away. And also what I've been doing, it's because sometimes we need support, of course, but many times I keep some aspects of my life. It's me who will take the decision. It doesn't matter how it will unfold, but I need to have this trust of my trust in my choice and in myself. And we can build that. It happens with practice, and also with experiences that we allow ourselves to go through. Even sometimes it can feel maybe we will be missing out on something. Yeah.
Because even when something doesn't work out, instead of reminiscing and, well, that didn't work out, we'll just, if we take a step back and come back into the heart space and say, okay, well, I did learn what I don't like. I did learn that I didn't want to go down this path, so that I can come back home and just love myself. And then, like you said before, so many more doors open after that when you recognize what you don't want. So and in that, when we change our perspective, it's always about a perspective shift or a perspective widening. That's when we recognize there are no wrong choices. It's just what you want to experience in this now moment. What does that feel like to you? And is this a vibrational match to me? And so I don't know if it's like this for you, but like if I'm looking at a broad range of choices and I come back home to my heart and I feel into one of those lanes, all I have to do is see which one holds the most energy, like which one feels the most expansive. That's the direction I usually want to go in. So when you're making these choices, or when you're coming back into your heart space, like you were talking about, what does that feel like, or what does that look like for you when you're making your decisions on which way to go?
In general, it feels how to say, it feels easier to go in that direction. And how to say, even though sometimes I can feel that resistance, but I know if it's resistant toward change or something, so it's not related to the choice. So if I know that, so I choose that anyway, because I know I have like, it's more in the background, like the feeling that this is what I want. And also sometimes like the new choices that happen, it can be like very different, like, because it happened to me several times in my life where I'm walking like in a certain direction in a path, and then I feel like it's like life or the experiences try to show me something different, like taking my attention to something that I need to either bring something new to bring to my life, or maybe it's more about time to shift path. And that's also, it's how to say, it needs letting go, trust, and also being more flexible, like asking questions. For example, if we are in a situation when things just don't work out, whatever we try, it just doesn't work out, then we ask the question, is it more do we need just to slow down? Is it more like integration, or is there something else that needs my attention? And when we receive the guidance, it's like the other choices, they feel, how to say, they will feel easier than the others in general for me, like to access. And there is in general, no like blockages in that path. This is how it feels for me in general.
I think you touched on something really important, the resistance. A lot of people will hit that resistance. Maybe they'll feel it in their body or their mind or their ego is like, So, but we know that that's just one aspect of who we are. And that's usually, like you said, fear of change. So what are like a few of the techniques, or even if you're just breathing through it, or how do you work your way through that resistance so that you can fully step onto the decision that you made?
For the resistance, sometimes I just, maybe I lay down and I feel whatever is happening within me. Sometimes I try to have, as you say, a discussion with my inner child, like both of us trying to understand why we feel a certain way. And sometimes this can be very helpful, and it can shift the feeling like instantly, sometimes like very, very fast, once we have the clarity about what's happening. Sometimes if I feel, how to say, this doesn't happen a lot, and it feels like forcing, but I know this is just a resistance of change or stepping into something new, or I feel like more in my safety zone that I don't want to get out of it. But I keep walking toward the new thing, toward that change, and at the same time trying to feel that resistance and see how it goes away with time. And in general, like as I walk that path, like it shows up that it's really worth it, and it gives more, how to say, more flexibility and more flow. It's, how to say, it's more flexibility. I think that describes it better.
I think that's perfect. When we let go of resistance, then that flexibility, malleability comes forward. And that's change. That's like the definition of change. It's becoming flexible. And fear is often what creates that resistance, right? And if we look at the frequency of fear, it's pretty jagged and incoherent. So when we have that fear somewhere in our field, it's hard to expand out. And that's where we feel like the actual resistance. So you're spot on. And I think this is such an important conversation. I'm so glad you brought that up. Is people will hit that resistance and they'll think like, oh, I made the wrong decision. I should have went somewhere else. When in reality, it's like, no, do what Moncef is talking about, breathe through it, acknowledge it, have those inner conversations with yourself so that that fear subsides, moves to like the back of your energy field. And then you like step into change without the fear, but with a lot more gratitude and a little bit of excitement. Or you can also allow that fear to kind of like drive you into the new decision. So I don't know. I'm really enjoying this conversation.
Maybe I will give an example, because, as you say, the past like three years, like I've been traveling a lot, and it was really like it was fun to do that. But when I came back to my country, I think, and I stayed here maybe 6 or 7 months without traveling. And what happened is, like, quickly I came back to my safety zone, and traveling became I started having some resistance. And so I booked my flight. I decided to travel for a week. And then like when I went to the airport, I was feeling some resistance. And then like people, they just, maybe the customs asking me, what is happening for you? Should be happy, or things like that. It's like, how to say, it's like life. It's bringing you messages through other people. Just remind you, it's just some resistance that you have, and there is so much to enjoy in the path. So yeah, I just want to share that.
I like that. I really like that. I think that's something important that everyone needs to take away. Like if you don't take away, I don't even know what we're going to talk about next, but like if we can like keep that in your back pocket of don't be scared of resistance, but speak to it and invite it in. I think we could go into like, as we move through the topic of resistance, talking about heart walls and protection and things like that, because we do tend to put up a lot of walls when we're making decisions or scared and things like that. So, yeah, let's go ahead and speak on that.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said earlier, when we try to protect ourselves, many times we build walls, and we do that after maybe past experiences like heartbreak or some challenges that's like experiences that were like really challenging for us, and then we try to protect ourselves so we don't feel pain again. And for me, how I see it, like this is a stage that I think most of us went through at some stage in our life. But then how I see like the other side of it, it's when we become more free from that is it's like I said, like the frequencies or the experiences, it's like frequencies that are existing simultaneously, and then for us, we choose what resonates for us. It's, how to say, we reach a point of freedom that's, even if someone behave in a certain way or someone judge us or like an experience doesn't go the way we want, like our hearts becomes like more, how to say, I have the image in my mind, but it's the experience like starts being like just some clouds hovering over us, but they can't touch our hearts because its energy, it's much stronger, and we feel more grounded, more at peace, and we don't have that fear of pain anymore, because we know what it is. It's just a frequency that happens when we try to protect ourselves. But how to say, when we try to open our hearts, even though we went through heartbreak, it can be very difficult, very challenging, and allow, how to say, maybe feel that pain without getting stuck in it or without being identified by it. Because if we do that, we may stay very long there, and we don't find a way out. It's more about just allowing it to move through us. It's something that is temporary, because everything in life is temporary. Even though it's very challenging, it will end at some point. And what happens when we feel that our hearts become more flexible, more, also, if we can say, stronger, that even though some maybe judgments, some like experiences in general that's normally challenged us in the past, we are okay with that. We allow it to happen. We don't have this feeling that we need or we want to change that. We want to change that person or that situation. Yeah, it's okay. We are more, it's like we are creating our own timeline within like everything that is happening. We don't need, it's, how to say, it's like the timeline doesn't mean, the timeline that we want doesn't mean that everything that will show up, is exactly how we want it to show up. Like we can have like those triggers, those experiences, like whether personally or collectively, but still within that, we can create a timeline for us where we feel at peace, where we choose the things that resonates for us and the frequencies that resonates with us more.
I think that yes, and yes. So when we have those heart walls, if we look at the frequency of that, like those heartbreaks, and when we're trying to protect ourselves, so again, that frequency is very incoherent. So even when we're trying to open ourselves up, what we're vibrationally matched to is just more heartache. When we're trying to protect ourselves, we're vibrationally, energetically pulling into our existence experiences to protect ourselves from. Now, that's not to say that there aren't like just routine, like natural things that we need to do to keep our energy clean by being self-aware and, working on our matrix, whatever. But like you're saying, is in trying to protect ourselves, we're creating circumstances to protect ourselves from. So by releasing all that and allowing ourselves and our bodies and all the chemicals to be fully moved through, because we're human and we're going to have these full range of emotions all the time, regardless of how enlightened we are. If we don't move through them, they're going to stick to us somewhere. So like you're saying, and is there like a certain technique? Do you do it in meditation? You said you talk to yourself. Do you use breath work, or how do you, if you find a resistance somewhere, or if you find a heart block from something, because I know, like, especially right now on Earth, the veil is thinning, energies are moving really fast, and old, like, I'll be sitting in meditation and these old memories that I haven't thought of for ages will like pop up. So when those happen, for me at least, I, instead of like chastising myself saying like come back to center, forget about everything, it's more of like I just acknowledge the memory and move through it so my body can release it. But how does that work for you when you're like, man, I really thought I worked through this fear or this guilt or this shame? How do you work through that yourself, like when it comes up for you again?
Yeah, when this like repeating patterns, it's more about holding the space for myself, like trying to remind myself that it's okay to have this experience. It doesn't mean that I'm starting over or something, or that I'm doing the wrong thing. It's like the same frequency is showing up again in a different way for me to evolve more, to go to the next step. It doesn't mean that how to say, that's I'm starting over from the beginning, or all the path that I went through, it didn't serve. And also it's more about, I call this the space, so I don't feel guilty about that. That's, it's okay. It's part of being human. And sometimes I have that before, maybe a day or two before, I will hold like a group session, for example, on the show, or I would be invited on another show. And then there is this voice within that starts judging myself, like I shouldn't have this experience. So now I will be like a guest speaker, and I will be speaking about how to connect to ourselves. So here I remind myself that it's not about being perfect, because if we are perfect, we will not be able to connect to others. We won't be able to have compassion, because being human, it's what allows us to support others and also receive support from others. Because it's, if we don't have those feelings and those like all the range of human emotions, we will not understand what others are going through. And the more we hold space for ourselves, the more we are able to do that for others. So yeah, that's how I approach it. Or sometimes for meditation, it depends. If it's if it's very dense, for me it becomes difficult to do the meditation. So it either I do some sound healing music, or I go to nature, especially in places that's really I feel more connected. And that can help me a lot. And there it's more about, I do like contemplation rather than meditation. It's like contemplating what is happening in my life, contemplating how I feel and react to it, without a judgment, just seeing, and then, like, how to say, we start receiving intuitive guidance or awareness about what is happening. And also we can have more courage to go through that. If we have pain, for example, to go through that and feel whatever we need to feel.
Perfect. And when you spoke on like when you're getting ready to do a large group class or something. So when we are thinking about our purpose work here, it is a choice, and we have choices within choices on that. So what are some of the questions you ask yourself when you're wondering what part of your purpose you want to explore next as source creator here? So does that make sense? Like, how do you start to ask yourself the questions that open up the doorways to exploring your purpose?
Like in general in life, or you said before? Yeah,
in general.
Like, it's more like at some points I'm creating something that is aligned with maybe what we call purpose. But then at some point it feels like things are not working. Like it feels unusual, like it's not normal. And I try different things, but they don't work. And then for me, it's maybe this is a sign for me to either look within, or if I don't have clarity, to seek support from someone who can see the bigger picture. And that happened to me when I started this, when I connected with you. And what happens also, it's more, it brings aspects of myself that I try to connect to step by step over time. Sometimes I don't have the big picture. It's just I try that, I go through that path, but I don't stop what I'm doing now. It's more in parallel. And then over time, I get more clarity. I understand why I've been called to that path. And maybe it's more about integrating everything. Sometimes it was about just totally shifting path, like when I left my job. So it depends on the the time. And I don't know exactly like what I will be doing in the future. I know now what I'm creating. Maybe something will happen in maybe near future, but it's not, I don't have like the full picture of what I will be doing. And yeah, I just walk step by step and work with what I'm having. Yeah.
I think that's what's important, what people needed to hear, is that when our purpose is so much broader than what we can see or perceive, because their energy is not just affecting our communities, like your energy is not just affecting everyone on the call today, but it's going beyond that. And there's just no way that the human mind could perceive how far your energy stretches. So I think it's really important that people just allow yourselves to be guided, no matter how big or small the steps are. Like for me, my business changes every single year. It's different. It looks different. The offerings are different, because I'm just going with the flow. And the more that I let go of trying to control it or trying to see that bigger picture, when I do try to see a really big picture, I find that I actually get more stuck, and that creates more resistance, because I'm like, well, I don't know how in the world I'm going to get to Z from A. And that kind of gets me. So if I just kind of like have somewhat of an understanding of where I'm headed, but allowing my energy just to flow with, well, I'm going to do this because it feels good. Do you ever find that? Like, I know that it's time to switch directions in my work or my purpose, or even with the family, because one, it either gets kind of boring, and we never really use that term, but it gets kind of boring, or it just doesn't feel, the joy's not there like it was before. The excitement's not there.
Yeah.
So allowing our a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Sometimes it can happen as feeling boredom, and it happened to me as well several times. And I tried to have more activities, like meeting other people, but it was still the same. And sometimes it felt like have feeling of loneliness, and this happens mainly if there is a big shift happening, because I'm switching to something like very new to me and unusual. And in general, it feels like I'm walking alone in that path. And I don't know how to express that to others around me. Maybe they will not understand it, but it feels like maybe being alone for a period of time. And then it's more about, how to say, allowing that feeling, and also slowing down. Because when we try to accelerate and try to, like you said, protect ourselves, so we don't feel like alone, it's, how to say, it's like we resist the change, and we make it more difficult for us.
Yeah. And the feeling of failure is so big when we're making decisions, so scared to fail. But if we can begin to understand that failure is just a man-made term that doesn't really exist, because everything is just an experience, and we can just literally leave it at that, then that kind of helps release that resistance so that we can make decisions in relationships and families and careers and life paths and different things, that there is no failure. I think often in this industry, like if you launch something new, I know there's a fear of failure that nobody's going to show up to support you or come watch. But again, it doesn't really matter, because what does matter is the energy that you're radiating out from you. And if you're at peace with yourself, if there's no one else there watching you or listening to you or supporting you, it doesn't matter, because you're still touching millions and millions of people and beyond this world just with the light that you have. So,
And many times, like we think that it's about how we will show up, the image that we build in our mind, how we show up and how others will respond. And this reflects the success that we are having. And then at some point we realize, when we start to let go, that it's not really about us or about the identity that we created. It's more about walking that path, showing up, and sometimes without a lot of preparation. It's more about showing up and allowing things to happen through us. And we feel guided, like on the path, how we can, like the support, how it will happen, how we'll be sharing that. And also, it's okay if we see others moving faster than us. And also, it's okay if, because also we may feel intimidated by someone who is having very large audience, maybe very famous, and it feels like it's impossible to reach that stage. And we forget that also they had a long story that they went through. And it wasn't just like this in a moment, like just very fast that things started happening for them. And also them, at some point, they didn't have clarity where they were going. So it's not about the time, like when it will unfold. Like it's more about showing up and sharing from our hearts and going step by step, like following our guidance in each step.
yes. This morning when I was doing some automatic writing, and what they were talking about was like the holographic. I don't know if you guys remember those old holographic bookmarks. They were like in the 80s, and they would have an image. My favorite one were these dolphins that were jumping. And so what that is like, you can cut that bookmark up into a million pieces and look at any of those tiny pieces, and you'll see the entire image that was on the whole bookmark. And what they were showing was in our DNA, it's holographic, and everything that's available to us is right there within us. But because of our own life experiences, we're only seeing part of that image of that bookmark. We're only radiating part of that out. So even when we look around our environment and we see these different people leading these lives that look much bigger than ours, or whatever it is, just understand that you have a different part of the bookmark that's lit up than they do. And it's no better, it's no worse. Everything's available to us all, but we each have such a unique experience in vibrational frequencies that we're running through us that you can't compare. There's no way to compare Moncef's journey to my journey to Judy or Ellen or anyone else on this call. And when we do that, that really helps. If we kind of step back and look at that perception, then that definitely helps us release. There's no wrong choice, because every choice that we take, experience that we have, whether it ends up feeling good or not so good, it's going to open us up if we choose to move through it and light up part of our bookmark. So beautiful. Thank you, Moncef. And how do you feel? There's a lot of energy running right now. So how do you feel about starting the group process? Are you ready for that yet, or how's that feel?
Yeah. I forgot about this. Yeah, let's start.
Okay. I can feel all the energy coming in for it. So it's like, let's do it. All right.
So in the beginning, I invite you to take 3 deep breaths. Inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And I will stay silent so you can do the breathing at your own pace. And I invite our higher selves, our spirit guides, also I feel the presence of the Pleiadians here. And I just want to explain very shortly how this process works. Is in general, it's more about a theme. Like today, it will be supporting our choice, and it starts with guidance about that theme or subject, and then I stay silent for a few minutes, and I hold a space along with. Here we have the Pleiadians, and also sometimes we have other beings, and so they work with each and every one. It can be like different from one person to the other, and it's more about supporting energetically to help to shift anything that needs to be transmuted in that moment. And in general, it's related to the theme, or sometimes it can be maybe unique to you. And you don't need to do anything, just you can follow with me. And if you feel that you went through other thoughts, you can just come back by taking a deep breath. So take a deep breath. So this group process is about supporting us in taking our choice, whether the choice that we take in our daily life on a personal level, or in general, choosing the timeline where we want to live, the timeline that we want to create. Especially in these times, because it feels like it can be very confusing at sometimes, especially with what we are experiencing personally. Either things are not working out, or we don't know what's our next step, or sometimes we have challenges, like in relationships, like in with people around us. But also, in addition to that, there is a lot of things that's have been happening over the years collectively, and all of this at once can make us feel very emotional. Like we can feel some really intense emotions, and also get confused about what is really true for us. And at some point, we may not know what is the truth and what resonates with us. Take a deep breath. And we can get emotional when others make different choices, and we feel either maybe alone, or we feel not supported. And because we want to feel loved, and we want others to support our choice, and even sometimes may choose like we do. And also, how to say, when we see things happening on a collective level, maybe some injustice, and we feel that we want to change that, but it feels like what we are doing is not enough. And also there can be some events that are happening and they are more like distraction rather than something that is revealing some truth. And also something that I notice a lot, like especially collectively, that's maybe many trends or things like shifts that are happening collectively happens because of the emotion that it holds. Because in general, like trends, it can be like new way of thinking, new way of creating, or anything. And also in movements, like trends and movements can hold a lot of intense emotions. Like they start by supporting a minority or someone who can speak for themselves, and at some points it becomes more like, if you don't agree with me, then you are against me. So there's separation in that, and at some point this creates a lot of confusion. Like we want to experience love with everyone, but also we want to allow all the experiences, all the frequencies, like I was mentioning in the beginning of the call. Like there are many frequencies and they can be very different. And it's more about allowing them and co-creating with them with love. Because when we become more free, more loving to ourselves, and as a result to others, we don't have this, like even if they choose a different path, we don't even have that thoughts or feeling that they are doing something wrong, or we feel sympathy for them. It's more about this is something important for them, and I need to honor it and respect it. So it's more about, we want to find love, but sometimes reality, how we see it, if we focus on reality, how it is, then it creates a lot of confusion, and we start doubting what is really true for us. Take a deep breath. And here, this is where the power of choice shows up. Choosing where we put our focus, like choosing the timeline that we want to create, and choosing from our hearts. And this doesn't mean that we need to change other people, we need to change the outer reality, or we need to change the collective. It's the more we direct our focus to the path that we are creating, the more what is happening around us, it's more just, it becomes more just a choice for us. And once we walk that path, a heart-based path that we choose, we start seeing others doing the same. And sometimes it can be by sharing our experience, our lights, supporting others. Other times it's just by being an example, because we are showing to others what is possible. Like we really can create a timeline that is, it has joy, it has fun, it has excitement. Of course, we will feel other human emotion as well on the path, but it's more something that we really love, and it's possible to create that within what we may call chaos. Take a deep breath. And here we start feeling more free, more sovereign. We start connecting to our own power more and more. And we stop waiting for the outer world to change for us to be in that path, to be connected to our hearts. It becomes more, we have the freedom to choose. And then as we walk that path and be the example, we can see more and more free people, like more people are becoming free from the 3D matrix. And this strong energy, like together, can really shift the collective energy. Take a deep breath. And I will stay silent for a couple of minutes, just holding the space for everyone, and also the Pleiadians will be working with each and every one of you to support your choice and to have more confidence on your choice and on the path that you are choosing to create, and also bring in more ease to that creation that you are choosing. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. And yeah, thank you so much for creating this journey with us. Also, I thank our higher selves, spirit guides, the Pleiadians, and the beings who have been with us. And yeah, now if you are closing your eyes, you can open them. And welcome back.
That felt really good. what I was noticing was, and I don't even know if you're aware, every time you said take a deep breath, there was this big wave of energy coming in and just lifting off collective debris. They were going down to like, I don't know if you guys could feel, but I could feel like all this energy getting lifted off the back of the head and off the crown and away from the heart and off of our back, because we take a lot of information in from the back and we process it and then we radiate out through the front. And so I was just feeling like all of our channels really getting cleared out from all the congestion of, they were even showing me, like some of you, like the decisions of, should I eat this or that? Should I watch this or read this? You know, like just down to, we make so many decisions all day long, all these choices. And they were just clearing it all off. So thank you. And really, when you started talking about the collective emotions and moving the collective energies off, a lot of that really lifted off of everyone. And then I saw clarity come in, and people kind of were then able to drop into their heart space to give them the visual of what they did want to experience as a collective. So thank you. Thank you for guiding that. Thank you for gifting us all that.
Oh, thanks to you and everyone for co-creating that. Yeah. And yeah, during the deep breath, many times I just stay silent there. And then after that, I start talking just to allow the energy to move. And yeah, especially for, like you said, for the collective, because many times we try to pick a side, but it's more about connecting with everyone with love, like seeing beyond the veil. That's, we are all connected in the end. Yeah.
Judy wrote, experienced the gold here for the longest I ever have. Thank you. So Judy, I have to say, the first time I met Moncef, or that we worked together, I saw so much gold energy everywhere. That was like his primary color. So I just like that you wrote it, because that's how I see Moncef. So, and he did.
Yeah, I remember that session. Yeah.
Well, and she said she was in and out of theta most of the time. And I think that's brilliant, because when we bring in these, you know, there's so many, Moncef's a very galactic being. He's very star energy. And so when we bring in a lot of that super high frequency energy, it does relax the mind enough to slow the brain waves down, to go into a theta state, to go into a slower brain wave state, which does help us access and release the gunk, the buildup, the dust, like that we get from just their collective thoughts. So yeah. I really like that. So your offerings will be more of like this, but what are your group calls going to be about?
So it's 3 group sessions like this, 40 minutes each one of them. They will be happening on August 5th, August 12th, and then 18th. And it's called, like, the main theme is living as sovereign beings. And it's like I mentioned earlier, like it's about the confusion that we are experiencing, because now we are called to create in new ways, because the old system is changing, and it's related to everything in general. And for us, because we feel those previous ways of being or previous systems feels like safety zone for us, we get used to that, and then we based our future, like how we'll create it, on that. And when we feel the shift happening on what we call as foundation, it feels sometimes how to say, unstable or confusing. And so the group session will be about supporting to go through that transition with more empowerment, and also being able to make our choice independently on what we call foundation. Like the foundation becomes more our own heart, and the choices that we make, we become more and more free from the 3D, how it will unfold. And we start, how to say, we start creating from the hearts, and also in a way that we feel more free, more empowered. And at the same time, you know, that's knowing when like feel grounded and we have that deep knowing that's nothing can maybe shake us. It's more like that's maybe sometimes we will be affected by what's happening, but we are able to come back to that center and create in an empowered way and make our own choices, and yeah, choosing ourselves and choosing our path, because we have that power. And so these group sessions will support in that. And so it's each one, it will be like the subjects that's related to that will be coming intuitively, and like today it will be more guidance, and then also working energetically with everyone. So that's what it will be about. And I hope you will join us. And the link is yourdivineuniqueness.com/Moncef, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Moncef, MONCEF. Or you can click on the special offer button on the live event page, later on the replay page. Also, the link will be on YouTube video description. And I will put it also on the chat box as well.
Yeah. Of course, we ran out of time before we got to questions, but just to go back.
Add a little bit.
Okay, we can answer a question. If someone has a question, you can raise your hand or you can write it in the group chat. But when you were talking about your group sessions,
yeah,
they've been having me talk about this for a long time too. You're changing the foundational frequency of people so that when they're building their new houses, their new castles, it has something steady and firm to be on, something that's not going to collapse, something that can hold vast levels of consciousness within it. Our foundational frequencies have been a little unstable because if we look at our root chakra, we've had a lot of lack, a lot of fear and instability as the core foundational frequencies locked in those lower three chakras. So the work that Moncef is doing is he's rewriting the script of those lower foundational frequencies into something that is more peaceful, more harmonic, so that when you do your meditations, when you start to have these images or desires that come to your heart that feel more expansive than things that you felt before, whether they're for you or how you want the earth to look, whatever that is for you, those frequencies are more expansive and it needs something to be able to land on. And so we have to be able to re-script our foundation to be able to hold those visions. And that's what Moncef's work is doing. So I highly recommend it because I think that's extremely important right now. That's what my work has been based around too for the last couple of years. Like we have to rewrite those. So thank you, Moncef, for allowing yourself to be guided by that and for the conversations that we've had today. It's like uber important. So I'm glad I had a good time. Thank you guys for all being here. And
yeah, thank you so much, Erica. Also for co-creating that, for hosting this call today. Also, I really loved the insights that you shared and the messages that you shared today. It was really inspiring and it was a great discussion. So, and also thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for being here and supporting Moncef's work, but also supporting each other just by showing up. So eternally grateful for this platform. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, also I just want to say thank you again to everyone. Yeah, I love when I do this, like either like calls like this or group session. And thank you so much for joining today and being part of that. Yeah, and with that, I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you on the next call. Bye-bye, everyone.